Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to continue from where we left off last time. So let's review that actually. And I'm going to close these. So we had this project here called Test 405. We created some code, Java files here, Java classes. And we created two JSP files. This JSP file, admin.jsp, is intended for the admin user to access. All other users are blocked from accessing that JSP file. And the index.jsp, that's intended for all users, non-admin users are okay. And so these two resources, you see, these are directly under the war folder. So that requests for them are directed directly at these JSP files. Just like this index.html file, we can access that directly from the browser. Anything under WebINF, on the other hand, is hidden. So for instance, the browser cannot access web.xml. It can't reach inside of WebINF. But it can send a direct request for these JSP files. And a JSP file it looks like HTML, but it has some Java commands in there. Or it has syntax in there that translates into Java code. I mean, maybe I'll talk about that a little more later. But what we focused on last time is figuring out how to restrict access to this admin.jsp. We wanted to restrict access to the admin user, and I believe we also restricted access to index.jsp as well to logged-in users. So you can see here index.jsp, it just says I'm index.jsp and so on. And it displays a message. And I'm solving a problem that you need to solve. It's called data store, or DS. I think I called it DS. So how to enable admin to modify this global message that all users see. And this div element right here is where we're going to put the text for that admin message. And so you can see here that div element is empty right now because we're going to use Ajax, and you can see right here we're invoking the Ajax function of Jquery to send a request to the server to give us the admin message. And when this Ajax request returns, this done method will call unless there's an error. And the done method is a callback function, and we call done, we pass in a function. We pass in an anonymous function. It's a function without a name that we define, in place where we need it. So we pass in this function. So this is the function that gets invoked when the Ajax request completes. And what do? When the Ajax request completes, the callback function gets called with a single argument that's called data here. You can call it anything you like, but we're calling it data. And that object that gets passed into this done callback contains the information that the server is returning to the browser. And so when we get that data, we're going to pass it into this HTML method here. And that basically, we're just treating the data as text, and we're inserting the string, the text string, into the element that's selected using this Jquery lookup command. So we start the command here with the $. It's a function call. $sign is a Jquery function. We pass in this string, which is $, and then message. That $sign there means this is an ID attribute of an element in the document. So that matches this element up here. So this div element has an ID attribute set to message. So this expression selects that div element in code, in JavaScript. And then actually this expression I have highlighted right here, this resolves to a reference to a jQuery wrapper around that div element. And then that jQuery wrapper has a function called HTML. It just says whatever the contents of that element is, I'll replace it with these new contents. So, and that'll just be a string. So by contents, I mean in here. This is the contents, right in here. That's the contents of the div element. That will be replaced by the data that's returned from the server. Of course, if there's an error, then the fail callback will run. And so we do something else. Actually, we do the same thing, but we just put in an error string in there. Now, to see this page, we have to pass through this admin filter right here. So the request is passed in through doFilter. Request comes in, there's a request object that gets passed into the filter, a response object, and a filter chain object. And so we get this request, and we have to decide whether to let the request pass through and go to the next processor on the chain. Right? So you can think of it as a chain of request handlers or request processors. And so we're up in the front. And we get the request first. When we're done with it, we call doFilter on that chain object that got passed into us. So we're saying, okay, web server, I've checked it out. It looks okay. The user's logged in as admin. We check that right here. Yeah, the user is admin. Good enough. Let him go through. And so we call doFilter on chain. And that ends up invoking that JSP file. How is that? Well, it's configured that interception of that incoming message by this filter is accomplished by a bit of configuration that's in this web.xml file here. Here's the admin JSP filter. This is the name. Here's where we give the name of the filter. We say we have a filter called admin JSP filter. It is an instance of this class. CSE405.admin.JSP That's the class right there, admin.JSP filter. This is the class that we define. And so by declaring it here in this filter element, we're telling the web server to create an instance of that class and have that instance be known by this name. And now that you have that instance, let's attach it to a URL pattern so that some of the requests that match the URL pattern will actually need to pass through the filter. So we do that here in this filter mapping section. Here it is. Here's the admin JSP filter. We're referring to that instance. And we're specifying a URL pattern of /admin.jsp. So if a request comes in that matches that URL pattern, send it through the filter. And as you can see, if we're not logged in, this is this question here. See, we call this this function is user logged in. If that returns false, then we're going to send a redirect. We're going to send the person to the login page. Right here. Let's see it run. So I'm going to run this. Right-click that and run as a web application. We'll look at the login messages. Looks good. Here's the URL of the locally running web server. Copy that. Well, it won't look any different from this. That's what it looks like. Actually, I'm logged in right now as admin, and I'll show you when I click on this. See actually the admin the web server is caching the sessions. So the web server has cached this admin session, this simulated admin session. If I started a different browser, I won't be logged in. So let me show that to you.
So the only way to log out is to throw away the cache?
One way to log out is to throw away that cache, and I don't feel like searching for it right now, though we could do that. We can search for the cache. Maybe it's actually, maybe that cache is, let's guess at where that cache is. I think it could be in here, but we'll need to look at the, need to look at this Navigator view here. This shows the file system. That would be a hidden, a hidden file. So I'm using Navigator. That's a different view. It shows all files, including the hidden files. Maybe it's not in here. Let's take a. No, it wouldn't be in live. Maybe it'll be in classes. Meta INF. Yeah, I'm not sure where they're keeping it. I don't think it's this one. It's not this. It's somewhere out there. I don't know where it is. Some temporary folder somewhere. But anyway, let's illustrate this. I have Safari open. Let's go ahead and go to the application. I don't think I'm not logged in Safari, so if I click on admin, I should be redirected to the login page. Let's see that. I did. Okay. Now we can log in as a regular user, and they give you an example user here. But you know, I could type in anything I want there. That's the user account name. But I'm not going to click this sign in as administrator, because that's a special type of account. You're the administrator account. If you're the person that is designated as an administrator on the Google App Engine application, then when you log in, you are an administrator. And you can add any number of administrators to a Google App Engine project. That's a possibility. So I'm going to log in as a regular user. You see this error 401? I think that means unauthorized. In the code, you'll see that, let's take a look at that. Right there. This is if I hover over this, I'm sure it'll say 401, watch that. See the 401? So that's the code. We're not sending any fancy message to the user. We could send a user-friendly message and say you are unauthorized to access this resource. We could do it like that, but we didn't. Now, but we are a regular user, so we should be able to access index.jsp. So that's okay. See. Now, how do we log out, though? We need a logout link, and that's the problem. If I go back here, I can see the form that it takes. It's going to look something like this. I'm just going to hack it here. It's going to be _AH / logout, and there's going to be this question mark, and then there's a single parameter there called continue, and that's where you want Google to redirect the user after they complete this operation. And we'll send that person to maybe index that, although I think that'll bring up the login page again, I think. I'm not sure. Oh, no, you don't need to be logged in to access that. Oh, there's a logout button here. Look at that. You guys laughing about that? Let me try this to see if that works. And are we logged out? I think we're logged out. Yeah, that's why we got to here. All right, so we want to construct we want to construct that logout link. So here I'm logged in as administrator. I want to be able to log out now. Okay, so I want a logout link in here. So we need to construct that logout link. Now, as you saw in here, the logout link looks something like this. Now, this is the logout link on the developer deployment, the locally deployed version of the app. When it's deployed to Google App Engine remotely, the logout link will be different. So we can't hard code the link in there. So what we do instead is to use part of the Google App Engine API to ask it to give us the logout link. So if we're running in our production environment, we're going to get the correct link there. If we're running in the local development environment, we're going to get a different but correct link there. So let's see how to do that. So we're going to do that in when rendering this this admin page here. So here's the admin JSP filter. Let's do it like here. Watch this. Here's the case where we are admin. So if we're admin, we're going to allow the request to pass through to the JSP. Let's give the JSP the logout string. How do we get the logout string?
User service.
That's right, user service, exactly. That's the part of the user API. It was defined here, right there. And we're going to do dot create, where am I? Create logout URL right here. And then I think it's that one we want. And see, it's asking us, this argument is the destination URL. Where do we send the user after they log out? And I'm just going to send them to the root here. Now that we have that logout string, how do we pass it to the JSP? Well, we'll pass it to the request object. The request object acts as like a hash map, so you can put properties in there that end up getting passed to other components in this request handling chain. So we're going to do is set attribute, and we'll call it the logout link, and that'll be logout string. Actually, I want to rename it logout link. I like that better. No, I don't like that better. Maybe logout URL. I like that one better. Let me refactor that. I'm going to call that the logout URL. That's what I want to call it. And I'll use the same name here. You see how I'm refactoring, and I'm like taking pains about the name. I want the name to be just right. It's really important, actually. And you need to pick good names. So how do we access that value from the JSP? Let's take a look at it. Let's create let's create this. Close that. I'm going to do something like this here. So we have a body element. I am admin.jsp, just so that we know where we are. Let's put the logout link in there. So it's href equals, and here we want the logout link. So let's see, there's a number of ways to do it. One way to do it is like this. I say logout link. Maybe I should have called it link instead of URL. Logout URL. So that's an expression. It's called expression language. You can use expressions like this inside JSP files. The $, opening and closing braces with some expression on the inside. Let's just keep it simple. It's just an attribute that you set in the request object. So this is the name of an attribute that we set in the request object. And that'll get resolved for us. Is this hard to read up there? It's okay, right? It's tough, but
Yeah, it's tough.
it's hard to make it bigger. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Yeah, maybe if you sit closer, it's better. There it is. That's the logout URL. Let's take a look at that. I went to this debug view. If you don't see that, you can pull it up like here. Go into Window, Show View, and Other, and Debug. It's pretty useful to have this view. And then I can right-click this and terminate relaunch. It immediately switches over to the console. I check for error messages. Come back to here. I'm going to refresh the admin page. There it is. There's our link. Let's look at the source code. That's what the link looks like. See that? See that continue equals %2f? This is the logout URL that the Google App Engine API gave us, that user service object. But look at it. What is going on here? Well, that obviously this underscore AH says, it's a path that you wouldn't expect a developer to use. So it's a safe path to use. And then under there we have logout. And then there's a question mark. Then continue. And so once again, we need, when the user clicks on this link, we want to pass the information about where the user should be, where their user's browser should be redirected to after the logout process is completed. And so we're saying to go to %2f. What does that mean, %2f there? Yeah, that means slash. %2f is the URL encoded representation of the / character. / is a special character. It shouldn't appear inside URLs. So before you embed data inside a URL, here we're embedding data inside the URL. Path to where we want to send the user after the logout. So when you go to embed data in a URL like this, you want to escape the data. If it's just a character A, the number 1, that's okay. Those characters are all right. But if it's a slash, it's not okay. If it's a question mark, it's not okay. Those are special characters that can't be in URLs, or they have special meaning in URLs that you don't want them to take on in your case. So you need to use what's called URL encoding. So a slash becomes %2f, right? A space becomes %. Anybody know what space is? It's something. ASCII 32, I don't know if you do the same thing here. So that's that. Let's log out, see if it works. So we log out. And there it is. We need to log in again. So we got logout working. All right. Now let's go back into this admin page. And I'm going to close that. let's let the admin user specify the text. All right, right now it says, what does it say? It says, where's the message? Are we rendering a message? Let's see here. Index.jsp. So we send in a request to get message, this URL here. Right? And when we get the return value, we pass it into this, this div with ID message. And it ends up calling this servlet here because of our web XML, the way we set it up. And it says, I'm the message. Right? Are we printing I'm the message? What's going on there? Oh, submit. Is that what I need to do? I'm the message. Oh, I see. It goes to get message. Oh. So I'm looking at index.html, not index.jsp. Index.jsp shows the message. Let's try that. This is where I want the root of the application to be. See, I'm the message. There it is. And so, you know, when you go to slash, this is like your root. And it's going to that index.html. And that's old stuff, and I don't want it to go there. I want it to go to index.jsp. So I'm going to change that configuration. It's in this web XML file. It's under WebINF, just to show that to you. But we're in the Navigator. We don't need that. It's the Package Explorer. This is a better interface. It doesn't show things that we don't need to see at this point. There's the web XML file. Just to make sure I get the right file open, I double-click that. And it's that welcome file list. See this? The welcome file is index.html. I want it to be .jsp. So let's change that. And I'm going to terminate and relaunch. Now, when I go here, now I've got the index.jsp. Of course, I can override that. I can go to it directly, index.jsp, or I can go to index.html. You know, it's not the welcome file anymore. It's not mapped to from the root of the application. So now we got what I want here. Now let's, we don't need to show the admin link to an ordinary user, so I'm just going to do it like that. Let's add let's add the login, let's add the, maybe the, well, let me see, I'm not sure I want to do that. Let's add a text entry area here so that the admin can set the message, and then we're going to store the message in the database. See, right now we've hard-coded the message. I'm the message. We always send I'm the message, but we want to let the admin user change the message.